A common question I'm seeing in Facebook groups, forums, comments on YouTube video, there's lots of questions around what projector to get. And there's tons of great responses out there already, and so this won't be an extensive deep dive into the pros and cons of different projectors, but I thought it might be useful to at least compare a few projectors side by side and a few of the pros and cons that I've seen with them. And so tonight I'm going to compare these 4 projectors. We'll shine them on the fence here as soon as it's dark enough, and we'll kind of compare the difference. On the low end of these black ones, this was my toe in the water into using projectors for our Halloween display. So we've been using these for I don't know how many years, maybe 4 or 5 years, but I never wanted to spend a lot of money on projectors, and so I tended to go pretty cheap. They worked well, I think, as you'll see tonight, for close-up effects. Obviously the farther away you get, then the less detail and the less bright it got, but they've gotten us by. You can look at some of our videos pre-2020. All of those, well, almost all of those were done with super cheap projectors, like $50 or less. So it can totally be done, and you can have good displays even with cheap, affordable projectors. Obviously, the more you spend on those ones over there, then it's going to get better and brighter. But these can work just fine. So there is quite a spectrum here. This little guy here to start with. But kind of my approach up until this year was just keeping an eye out for any sales I'd see, and if I saw a good sale, then I'd jump on it. And a couple years ago, they had kits for this Total Home FX. They had a kit that came with the projector and a screen and a tripod and some digital effects. And I don't remember how much I spent. I think they were only it's normally $35 for the kit, but they were on sale for, I think it was $10 each. Might have been 20. It was no more than 20. It was $10 to $20 each. So it was super duper cheap and came with digital effects and a screen and things like that. So I bought like 6 of them. and so we used a lot of these for a while. And it's, for that price, it works fine. It's been good. And then subsequent years, when I did get to the point where I wanted better quality, better brightness, then I stepped up just a little, not much more, to the $30 to $50 range to these kinds of projectors. And the brand on this one, I don't even know if the brand is relevant, because this class of projectors are knockoff brands that I don't even know if the companies exist anymore. I know this projector doesn't exist. I looked the other day, and you can no longer buy this particular one. And I've got some others in this same class that I can't find anymore either. So my expectations were very low with these, but with spending $30 to $50 at most, I wasn't risking much. And I've never had a bulb burn out. I've never had them break, and they've actually worked pretty good. So once again, cheap isn't always bad. It can still get you by. Some of the pros that I like with these small cheap ones, I mean, one is just how tiny this guy is. I mean, look how portable this thing is, and it's small enough that I'd end up hanging that from the ceiling, and very portable. Especially, you compare that to the bigger boys, and it's just tiny. It's a tiny little projector. One of the other things I like about it is I don't have to connect a laptop to this or a media player. I can put my digital effects on this USB drive and just plug it in, and it's ready to roll. So very, very simple and compact. Just needs power and a USB drive to run it. This one's very similar too. It's got a little bit more inputs. I can do the USB, but now I can also do HDMI and VGA. But mainly for this one, to be able to be self-contained and be able to play the digital effects, I've just got a pile of these USB drives that I've picked up at conferences over the years, and that works fine. So pros of these cheap ones: they're cheap, they're portable, and very easy to use. Plug the USB drive in and you're off to the races. The cons, we'll see once it gets dark enough and we start projecting. They won't be as bright. I don't even remember how many lumens this one is. I couldn't find it when I looked at my order history. This one is 1500 lumens, and then the next white one over there is 3200, and finally 4000 for the last one. So that'll give you the spectrum of how bright these are. So I think the benefits of the big boys are pretty obvious. They're bright, better resolution, better detail in your digital effects. The trade-off is, at least in my experience, I haven't found as many that can just play off a USB drive like these ones can. And so these I have connected to a media player. There's a bunch of good ones out on the market, but I've got this one that I like, a Mica spec something or other, and I'm using, you can take a USB or an SD card, and then that does HDMI into the projector. So these ones are a little bit more cumbersome. You can't just grab it, plug it in and go. You have to lug the big thing around and have some media player or a laptop or something like that connected to them. At least the ones I've had. There probably are some out there that take USB drive just fine. Actually, for all I know, these ones do too, and I just haven't tried it. Maybe I'll try that tonight too. So those are some of the pros and cons. These black ones being so cheap have enabled us to have somewhere between 10 and 15 projectors. So that 10 to 15 digital effects. And most of them are close ones, like a projection on a tombstone or pumpkins. But having them so low price has enabled us to do a broader scope of digital effects than I could afford with these. So you kind of choose the tool that best suits your haunting needs. So once it's dark enough, we'll fire these up and we'll compare them. Okay, here's the first projection we're going to look at. Cheap ones, expensive ones. So let's look at the cheap ones first. So $20 to $50 range. And it's not quite dark out. Like, you look at the skyline and it's still dusk, so it's not pitch black. And we're maybe 5 feet away or so. But you can see it pretty good. It's not bad for cheap projection. The one thing you'll notice between these two is you can see the individual pixels if you get close on this one. So the cheap $20 one, you lose some detail that you don't see that problem here. Nice crisp picture. Alright, should we try a pumpkin?
Okay. Nevermore! Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shriek of starting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore.
Yeah. It's a cool way to start digital decorating, because you got, $30, $50 for a projector, and then just whatever it costs for the Atmos effects. It looks really good. Alright, let's try the smallest one.
So should we pause that?
I think I will pause that.
I don't know how to.
Let's pause that sucker so it's less loud, and then focus it a bit.
Oh my. That's probably
There we go.
Maybe.
Still not bad, and since it's less bright, if you scoot it closer, it makes the picture bigger. So bring it closer towards me. Oh no, actually, yeah, sorry, it's the other way around. Brain cramp. Makes it bigger there. But yeah, that's still not bad. Let's play it.
As of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
Not too shabby. And there goes the pumpkin. Alright, let's go to the expensive ones.
Hello.
And when I say expensive, everything's relative. But this one on the left, it's really about $500, and I got it as a refurb for just under $300. So $50 to $300 is a big jump. Even bigger to something like that. This is closer to $1,000, $1,100 for that. Much, much brighter, obviously. Another thing that might make this a little bit difficult to compare side by side is these are short throw projectors, which means you can have them much closer for still having a big image. So you can see that they're much closer than the other ones, and yet the image is still huge. So we may not even have to show very much of this to show that it's better. It's bright, it's crisp, everything you'd expect when you spend that much. Projection number 2. You're not seeing double, there are 2 picture frames. This is a Hauntworks video with portraits of dueling ghosts. And this is where the detail starts to matter, and the brightness. So the little pixels that we were looking at before with the pumpkins didn't make much of a difference, but now if you look at the details on the picture frame compared to even this projector, this one has much, I need to focus a little bit, but it's got better detail than this one. And then, no surprise, these ones have amazing detail, amazing brightness. Very cool effect too. Cool. Alright, third projection. This is another one of Atmos Effects ghostly apparitions. Cheap projectors. You see the difference in the quality and the brightness. And as a reminder, even this cheap one, the brighter of the 2 is 1500 lumens. You've got double that to 3200 lumens, and then you get this awesomeness. $3,200 on the left, 4,000 lumen on the one on the right. I should play it, huh? So there you go, there's 3 projections. Maybe I'll throw one more in just for the heck of it. I had a problem with the file format for this last one, so those are the only 3 I'm going to show. But this is what we were going to show. You can find this one on Hauntworks too as part of the Changing Haunted Portraits. So there you go. Hopefully that answers some questions about the different projector options. I'll put some links into the description on what each of these projectors are, so you can look at the specs. I was able to find them all on Amazon, and I'll put a couple links too for where the projections came from, so you can find the effects too.